You know, there's something rather fascinating that happens when you stop taking life so seriously, when you begin to see through the elaborate game that you've been playing all along, this marvelous, complicated dance of pretending that you don't know who you really are. We grow up being told that life is a very serious business, that we must achieve, we must become somebody, we must make our mark on the world. And so we scramble and we struggle, climbing ladders that lean against walls that don't really exist. We're playing a game, but we've forgotten that it is a game. We've mistaken the rules for reality itself. But here's the thing, once you see that it's a game, everything changes. Not because the game stops, oh no, it continues, but because you're no longer fooled by it. You're no longer the puppet who thinks the strings are their own muscles. Let me put it to you this way. Imagine you're watching a movie, completely absorbed in the drama. The hero is in terrible danger, and you're on the edge of your seat, heart pounding, palms sweating. You've forgotten for that moment that you're sitting safely in a theater. You've forgotten that it's just light flickering on a screen, shadows and sound, arranged to tell a story. But then, perhaps someone coughs or your phone vibrates, and suddenly you remember. Oh yes, it's just a movie. And in that moment, do you storm out of the theater in disgust? Usually not. You relax back into your seat and enjoy the show, but now you're enjoying it differently. You're in on the joke. Life is exactly like this. We've constructed this elaborate illusion that we are separate beings, isolated egos, trapped inside bags of skin, struggling against a hostile universe to survive, to matter, to mean something. We've forgotten that this separateness is the game itself. It's not the reality underneath the game. It's the costume we put on so that we could have an adventure, so that there could be surprise, danger, victory and defeat. Think about it. If you were God, and who's to say you're not, and you had all eternity and you knew everything and you could do anything, wouldn't you get bored? Wouldn't you want to forget yourself, just for a while? Wouldn't you want to get lost in a really convincing game of hide and seek, where you hide so well that you actually forget you're playing? That's what's happened. You, the real you, not the little ego with your name and your social security number and your anxieties. You've disguised yourself as a person, complete with all the problems and limitations that make the game interesting. And you've done such a good job of it that you've actually convinced yourself the disguise is real. So how do we hack this game? How do we play it skillfully once we've seen through it? First, understand that hacking the game doesn't mean escaping it. You can't escape it. Where would you go? There's nowhere outside of this, because this isn't a place. It's what's happening. The universe isn't a container you're in. It's what you are. Trying to escape life is like trying to bite your own teeth or look directly into your own eyes. You're looking for something you already have. You're trying to reach somewhere you already are. The hack is this: stop fighting the game and start dancing with it. You see, most people go through life pushing and forcing, trying to make things happen through sheer willpower. They think that success means dominating reality, bending it to their will. But this is like trying to force a river to flow uphill. It's exhausting, and it doesn't work for very long. The real masters, and you can see this in any art or craft, the real masters don't force anything. Watch a skilled musician, a master calligrapher, a great athlete in their prime. There's an ease to it, a flow. They're not fighting their instrument or their body or their materials. They've learned to cooperate with reality rather than dominate it. This is what I mean by hacking the game. You stop trying to control everything, and you start to notice the natural patterns, the rhythms, the way things want to go. You become like water, flowing around obstacles rather than smashing into them. And paradoxically, by giving up control, you gain a kind of mastery that the control freaks never achieve. Now, let's go deeper into this. What exactly are the rules of this game we're playing? And more importantly, who made them? Here's where it gets interesting. You did. Not the little you, the ego, but the big you, the consciousness that's looking out through all eyes, dreaming all dreams, playing all parts in this cosmic drama. The rules of the game are self-imposed limitations. They're the constraints that make the game interesting. Think of a chess game. The pieces can only move in certain ways. A pawn can't suddenly decide to move like a queen. But these limitations aren't a bug. They're the whole point. Without rules, without constraints, there's no game. There's just chaos, or perhaps more accurately, there's just everything happening at once with no distinction, no drama, no story. So you, the cosmic you, imposed certain rules on yourself. You said, I will be born, and I will die. I will be able to move my body, but not other people's bodies. I will experience pleasure and pain. I will forget that I'm playing a game, so that the stakes feel real. These self-imposed limitations are what make the game playable. But here's the beautiful irony. The moment you remember that you created the rules, you can play with them. Not break them. That's not quite it. But dance with them, use them, understand them so deeply that you can work within them with incredible creativity and freedom. Let me give you an example. Take the rule about death. We're all going to die. And for most people, this is the ultimate terror, the thing that ruins the game. They spend their whole lives running from death, trying not to think about it, constructing elaborate fantasies about immortality or afterlives. But what if you really understood, not just intellectually, but in your bones, that death is part of the game? That you can't have life without death any more than you can have up, without down or sound, without silence. Death is what gives life its poignancy, its intensity, its meaning. Without death, life would be like music without rests, just an endless, exhausting drone. When you stop fighting death, when you accept it as part of the rhythm of existence, something extraordinary happens. You stop wasting your life trying to avoid death. You stop postponing your actual living until some imagined future when everything will be safe and secure. You realize that now is all there is, and you pour yourself into it completely. This is hacking the game. It's not about living forever. It's about being so fully alive right now that the question of how long it lasts becomes irrelevant. Or consider another rule, the rule of separation, the apparent divide between self and other, between inside and outside. We feel locked inside our skulls, looking out at a world that's foreign to us, filled with other people who are separate from us, who might help us or hurt us, but who are fundamentally not us. But this separation is an optical illusion. You are not in the universe like an object in a container. You are what the universe is doing in the place where you are, in the same way that a wave is what the ocean is doing in a particular location. The wave isn't separate from the ocean. It can't go off and have its own independent existence. It is the ocean, temporarily taking on a particular form. In the same way, you are the universe focused at a particular point in space-time. Your eyes are the universe looking at itself. Your thoughts are the universe thinking. Your actions are the universe acting. There's no separate you that's doing these things independently. When you really get this, when you feel it, not just think it, the whole game transforms. You stop feeling like you're fighting against the world because you realize you are the world. You stop trying to protect a separate self because you see that the boundaries were always arbitrary. The fear falls away, and in its place comes an extraordinary sense of lightness and freedom. Does this mean you become passive, that you stop caring, that you just let everything happen? Not at all. In fact, you become more engaged, more creative, more spontaneous than ever before. Because you're no longer paralyzed by the fear of protecting something that was never really separate to begin with. You see, here's what happens when most people try to hack life. They approach it with the same desperate, grasping mentality that got them stuck in the first place. They read books about success. They try to manifest their desires. They make affirmations and visualizations and 5-year plans. And all of this is just more of the same game. It's still coming from the assumption that you're a separate self who needs to get something from a hostile universe. But the real hack is precisely the opposite of this. It's learning to let go, to trust, to stop trying so hard. It's what the Taoists call Wu Wei, doing by not doing, action through non-action. It sounds paradoxical, and it is, but only to the rational mind that insists everything must make logical sense. Watch a cat. Does it try to be graceful? Does it practice being cat-like? No, it just is a cat, completely and unself-consciously. It doesn't have an image of what a cat should be that it's trying to live up to. It's not trying to become a better cat. It's simply catting along, doing exactly what cats do, with perfect natural ease. You had this same quality when you were a child, before you learned to be self-conscious, before you started monitoring yourself and judging yourself and comparing yourself to others. You just were. You played because playing was fun, not because you were trying to achieve something or become someone. You cried when you were sad and laughed when something was funny, without stopping to think whether it was appropriate or what people would think. And then what happened? You learned the great error. You learned to believe that who you are isn't enough, that you need to become something else, something better. You learned to live in the future, always striving toward some imagined state of completion that never quite arrives. You learned that life is serious, that it's about achievement and acquisition and making something of yourself. This is the trap. This is the game playing you, instead of you playing the game. The hack is to remember what you knew as a child, that life is play, not in the sense of being trivial or meaningless, but in the sense of being something you do for its own sake, for the pure joy of it. Think about why you play a game. You don't play chess or tennis or poker in order to reach the end. If you only wanted to reach the end, you'd just declare yourself the winner and be done with it. No, you play because the playing itself is the point. The rules, the challenges, the uncertainty, these are what make it interesting. Life is the same way. You're not living in order to reach some end point called death or success or enlightenment. You're living because living itself is the point. The journey is the destination. The playing is the purpose. Once you see this, everything shifts. You stop postponing your life, waiting for the conditions to be right before you can finally relax and enjoy yourself. You realize that this moment, exactly as it is enough. More than enough. It's everything. And paradoxically, when you stop grasping for the future, when you stop trying so hard to make things happen, things start to flow much more easily. Opportunities appear, synchronicities multiply. You find yourself in the right place at the right time, meeting the right people, doing the right things, not because you planned it all out, but because you're in harmony with the natural flow of events. This is the real magic. This is how you hack the game. Not by trying harder, but by trying less. Not by doing more, but by being more completely present with what you're already doing. Let me tell you something. The universe has been doing this for billions of years. Galaxies form, stars are born and die, planets coalesce, life emerges and evolves, all without anyone planning it, without anyone trying to make it happen. There's an intelligence at work here, but it's not the intelligence of thinking and planning and controlling. It's the intelligence of spontaneity, of natural order emerging from apparent chaos. You are an expression of this same intelligence. Your heart beats, your food digests, your cells regenerate, all without your conscious control. Your body knows how to heal a cut, how to grow hair, how to balance an impossibly complex chemistry every moment. And it does all this effortlessly without you having to think about it. So why do we think that living our lives requires such enormous effort and control? Why do we trust our bodies to breathe and digest and grow, but we don't trust ourselves to live? It's because we've been educated, or perhaps I should say miseducated, to believe that we are our conscious thinking minds, and that everything else is just machinery, just stuff that we have to manage and control. We've been taught to identify with our thoughts, with the voice in our head that's constantly commenting, judging, planning, worrying. But this voice isn't you. It's just a tool, like a hammer or a computer, useful for certain purposes, but not the totality of who you are. In fact, most of what you do, most of the wisdom you carry, operates below the level of conscious thought. When you learn to ride a bicycle or drive a car, at first you have to think about every movement. But once you've really learned it, thinking about it actually interferes. You have to let go and trust the body, trust the intelligence that's deeper than thought. The same is true for living. You have to let go of the illusion that your conscious ego is in control, that you're a little homunculus sitting in your head, pulling levers and pushing buttons to make your body and your life work. That's not how it actually works. That's the fiction, the game we're playing. The truth is that you're the whole thing. You're not just the thinker. You're the breathing, the beating heart, the growing hair, the entire organism in its environment. And when you identify with the whole, rather than just the part, when you let go and trust the deeper intelligence that you are, life becomes much simpler and much more fluid. This doesn't mean you stop thinking or planning. Those have their place. But you stop being dominated by thought. You stop mistaking the map for the territory. You use thinking as a tool when it's useful, but you don't let it run your life. Here's another way to think about hacking the game. It's about learning to be sincere without being serious. Children are perfect at this. Watch children play. They're completely sincere. They throw themselves into the game with total commitment. If they're pretending to be pirates or astronauts or whatever, they're really doing it, not half-heartedly. But they're not serious about it. They don't confuse the game with reality. When it's time for dinner, they drop the game and come to eat. They don't have identity crises about no longer being a pirate. Adults do the opposite. We're serious about everything, our careers, our relationships, our opinions, our images. But we're rarely sincere. We hold back. We're always protecting ourselves, always calculating how things will look, always worried about losing. We take the game so seriously that we forget to actually play it. The hack is to recover that childhood quality, to be completely sincere in your engagements with life, to throw yourself fully into whatever you're doing, but to hold it all lightly, to remember that it's a play, a dance, a game. Take it seriously enough to play well, but not so seriously that you forget you're playing. When you live this way, failures and setbacks stop being catastrophes. They're just part of the game, like landing on a bad square in Monopoly or drawing a challenging hand in poker. You don't take them personally because you know you're not just the player, you're also the game itself, and even the board on which it's played. And successes stop being things you desperately grasp at and cling to. You enjoy them, certainly, but you don't need them to complete you or prove your worth. They're pleasant moments in the game, like landing on a good square or drawing a winning hand. You enjoy them, but you don't confuse them with who you really are. This is the secret that the ancient teachings were trying to point to, though they used different words. Stop identifying with the part and recognize yourself as the whole. Stop trying to control the river and learn to swim with it. Stop taking yourself so seriously and remember that you're part of an infinite play that has no beginning and no end. Now, you might be asking, if this is all a game, if none of it is ultimately real, then what's the point? Why bother with anything? Why not just sit around doing nothing? But that question comes from the same misunderstanding. The game isn't meaningless because it's a game. Games are delightful, they're fun. Would you refuse to play a game of chess because it's just a game? Would you not watch a beautiful sunset because it's just light hitting your retina? Would you not listen to music because it's just vibrations in the air? The point of the game is the game itself. The meaning is in the playing, this moment right now with all its textures and flavors and possibilities. This is the point, not as a means to some other end, but as an end in itself. This is it. This is what you came here for. And when you really get this, when you stop waiting for your real life to begin, when you stop postponing your happiness until you achieve some goal or solve some problem, when you wake up to the incredible fact that you are consciousness itself, temporarily disguised as a particular person, playing a particular role in an infinite drama. When you get this, life becomes extraordinary. Ordinary things become profound. The taste of food, the sensation of breathing, the sound of rain, the touch of another person's hand. These aren't mundane occurrences you have to endure on your way to something better. They are the something better. They are the treasure you've been seeking. You see, you were looking for enlightenment, for awakening, for the secret of life. And here it is. You're already it. You're already awake. You're already enlightened. You just forgot. Because forgetting is part of the game. And now perhaps you're beginning to remember. The game continues. You'll still have problems and challenges. You'll still experience pain and pleasure, success and failure, birth and death. But now you can hold it all differently. You can play full out with complete sincerity and commitment, while simultaneously knowing it's a play. You can be in the world, but not of it. You can care deeply about things without needing them to turn out a particular way. This is the ultimate hack, to realize that you never needed to hack anything in the first place. You were already free. You were already whole. You were already home. The seeking was part of the game. The finding was part of the game. Even the forgetting that it's a game is part of the game. So relax. Stop trying so hard. Take a breath. Look around at this astonishing universe you're part of. Feel the miracle of being alive, of being aware, of being here now, experiencing this moment that will never come again. And play. Play like you did when you were a child, before you learned to be so serious, so worried, so controlled. Play with life. Dance with it. Let it surprise you. Let it delight you. Let it break your heart and put it back together again. Because that's what you're here for. Not to win the game. There's nothing to win. Not to escape the game. There's nowhere to escape to. But simply to play, to experience, to be. To be the universe looking at itself, loving itself, knowing itself through the particular window of your consciousness. This is the great secret, and it's no secret at all. It's obvious once you see it. Life is playing with itself, and you are one of the ways it's doing that. So you might as well enjoy it. You might as well throw yourself into it with everything you've got, knowing that you can't lose, because you were never separate from it in the first place. Welcome to the game. You've been playing it all along.